it's Clint Salter. Welcome to today's awesome interview with Jane Gretsch. Now, Jane is a guru when it comes to building, and I saw that face, Jane, when it comes to building your faculty, your team, who I believe are the heart and soul of your studio. Jane has 16 teachers working for her at the moment. And so I wanted to get her on to our summit to kind of give us her secret ingredients, because we all want more rock star teachers in our studio. So why not bring on the woman that has the rock star teachers? Hello, Jane.
Good morning.
How are you?
Very well. Thank you for having me.
Hey, awesome to chat with you. And we've spoken at events before, and you've been helping out lots of dance studio owners on, how to run their business more efficient and effectively. And I know that you love recruiting staff and getting the right people in your studio. So this conversation makes a lot of sense. Jane, I'd love for you to tell our audience in 60 seconds a little bit about you, your studio, and what's your big mission in the world?
All right, thanks, Clint. Well, my studio is Jane Gretsch Dance Centre in Adelaide in South Australia. We're one of the biggest studios currently in the state. And I started about 8.5 years ago when I had my first baby, which I wouldn't recommend, and it's gone from there. So I was a sole operator, and now I have about 16 teachers and 5 behind-the-scenes staff. So we teach the whole range of genres, and it's just the best thing ever. I just love it. Every day I wake up and I feel really blessed. In terms of my main mission in life, that would be just to leave kindness wherever I go, which I know is not particularly business related, but whether it's with my students or my teachers, my children, wherever, or other dance studio owners, I just want to touch people and communicate with them on a deep level and show them that I'm interested in them, because I think that's what we all want, is people to be interested in us.
100% agree. And I think it's all about connection as well.
Yeah.
So if we can connect with more people, if we can give value to more people, kindness. I love that you said kindness. I was at an event a couple of weeks ago, and one of the big kind of takeaways from one of the speakers was we've got to be kind.
We've got to be kind, yeah.
Kind to each other.
Yeah.
There's no reason for us not to be. We've got to be kind, and we've got to be able to forgive. So I think that's a great takeaway before we've even started.
There you go. Let's just be kind.
Be kind, everyone, and that's the end of the interview.
Yeah.
Jane, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about how you recruit for your teachers. First of all, what do you look for in a teacher?
Yeah. When I'm looking for a teacher, I'm obviously looking for someone who can teach dance, who's got the skills to do the job. But I'm looking for 3 things. Somebody that's going to look after students' bodies, their minds and their hearts in equal proportions. So, when I'm talking about bodies, obviously they've got good technique themselves. They can teach safe dance. They know about limitations of bodies and what bodies can and can't do. When I'm talking about mind, that is such a huge area, particularly with younger students, but even vocational adult students. We're looking after somebody's mind. They need to be empowering and look for ways to lift students up, not push them down, but to lift students up. That's really important to me, so they can get the best out of them. As well as create a thinking dancer, so somebody who is thinking about what they're doing, not just here's the choreo, off you go and do it, but this is how we do it, this is why we do it. And finally, someone who can teach the heart or the soul, so teach from the heart. It's not, I've never met a dance teacher where it's just a job, it's just something to make money. Most, dance teachers teach from the heart, they do, but I want someone, my philosophy is to share my love of dance, so I want someone to do that. We've got enough critics in the world. We need more encouragers. We need more kindness. And so they're the 3 areas that a dance teacher, for me, they must, tick those boxes.
Yeah.
just quickly, you know, there's characteristics of a good dance teacher, and that would probably be them. And there's characteristics of a good dance teacher for my business, which might be different for somebody else's business. And I'm really a bit full on about that. I'm very protective of the culture and philosophy that my studio has. And so a dance teacher, you know, down at ABC school might be the great fit for them, but not necessarily the same fit for me. So I've got a strong philosophy about what I do, and they need to really share that vision. It's not that they need to come on board to my way of doing it. They don't. They need to share that vision, you know, from a really deep place.
Yeah. I love that, and it's so relevant. When you know, I love the concept of vision, right? Because generally when someone starts a dance studio, you know, we kind of have this picture in our head of what we want it to look like.
Absolutely,
what does that dream studio look like? How did you go about, and I'm sure it changes and it shifts and you move the goalposts as you grow, but how do you kind of nurture and how do you create the vision that then trickles down into the culture and with your teachers?
Yeah, look, that is a huge part of my job now. And I think that's where sometimes maybe dance studios are going a little bit off the track, because they just have an expectation that everybody's going to follow the company line, and they're not, because humans are wonderful, unique individuals, and we all have a brain, and we all you know, like to do things our own way. So there's a real focus in my organisation about our why. You know, Simon Sinek's, you know, so famous now for know your why. Well, your people have to know your why you're running a school or why the school exists. They have to know their why as well. You know, it's no good everybody just doing what Jane does, because it's not authentic. So we spend a lot of time talking about that in group training sessions, and I speak to my team every week via video as well, because we're not always in the same place, and talk to them about where I'm at and what my vision is, what we're focusing on. So it's not an accident that we're all, you know, heading towards the same way. It's a huge part of what my role as the director is.
Yeah. How do you define your role?
My role really is just now to be a mentor to the people. So I've got a really great structure in that I'm not having to do anything that I don't want to do anymore. I very rarely, sorry everybody.
Yeah, people are like turning off the interview saying, we don't like you, Jane.
No, I know it's terrible, but I've created this life that I love, because I don't, you know, I'm not answering the phone to the new inquiries. I'm not even really talking to disgruntled families. I've got a principal that runs my school, so effectively a manager that runs my school, which really leads me to a point where I can lead that team and I can lead my manager and I can create things, which is what I like to do. I don't want to be doing the nitty-gritty. I've done that. That's part of the journey. It's probably similar to you. It's part of the journey. I've done all of those jobs and I've kept the ones that I like and offloaded the ones that not so much.
I love that, and you and I share very similar philosophies around how the dance business can grow and thrive, and how you as a studio owner don't have to be working 70 hours a week and those angry people. You don't be one of those angry studio owners. What were, and just off the track for teachers for a moment, I think this is going to be really valuable. What were a couple of those first key hires that you made in your studio that helped you to be able to, I guess, focus on those things that you wanted to without, you know, and also by then replacing that income to bring those people on board, because that's a big concern for so many studio owners. Look, Clint, I'd love an office manager, but how do I afford them?
Oh, look, what a great question. I get really anxious for some of my friends who are dance studio owners who say exactly that. I'd love A, B, or C, but I can't afford them. Well, who's doing the job now? They are. So they're doing it for free. You know, anybody, it doesn't matter how much we love what we do. We can't work for free. because the bank would like the mortgage for the house and the rent for the studio. And yeah, sadly. So whenever I started a new role in my organisation, I did it first and I paid myself. And that way, once I was ready to hand it over, money was actually nothing to do with it. It was me ready to hand it over and start something new. And because I'd been paying myself what I'm worth, then I could pay somebody else as well. If you can't afford to pay yourself, then you need to look at your fees and business structure. Because it's not a charity, it's not a hobby, it's a career and a business. So for me to hand things over, the money is actually the easiest part. Actually, I've got very good at handing things over, is the truth. It gets easier.
It does, doesn't it? Because you go, and then you start doing things and going, could someone else do this?
Somebody else could do this, definitely.
Could someone else do this?
And they should sometimes. They should.
That's right. And you've got to identify your strengths and also that you love. And if you can, if you love marketing and you get great results with your marketing, well, that's a great thing for you to probably work on. What was that key hire that kind of showcased to you, wow, I don't need to do all of this myself? I don't actually think there was one key hire. My process was very organic. I got 2 years into my business and I had a 2-year-old, and it wasn't fun anymore because I was trying to run a business that was growing really quickly, and that's hard, fast growth's hard, but exciting. And I had a child that was having fast growth as well, and didn't sleep in the afternoon. So I just realised I need help because I wasn't having fun, and I didn't go into this to not have fun. If it's not fun, what's the point? So I got just what I call a person Friday was my first hire. And I put out an email to everybody I knew that said, help, I need help. Because I was standing at Officeworks photocopying. I mean, this is 10 years ago. We didn't email newsletters. I was standing at Officeworks photocopying newsletters. That takes 2 hours with a toddler in tow. That is not a huge skill. Well, actually, with the toddler, that is a huge skill. But anybody can stand at Officeworks and photocopy, or anybody can proofread your newsletter. You just need to remove your ego and realise that other people are quite effective. And so from there, it just went on, because delegating is very empowering because you realise you can, and that the world keeps turning when it's not you that's photocopying the newsletters. So that was my first hire, and then I was like, wow, this is great. And then I got a bit addicted. Yeah, you do. I think you touched on a point there. I think a lot of studio owners have this like superhero syndrome.
Yes.
Where they think that no one else can do it better than me. Or the second thing they think is, well, it's just faster if I do it.
Yeah.
In the long run, as we know, in the long run, it's not. In that moment in time, it could be.
Yes.
But when you think about 6 months, a year, 3 years down the track, do you want to still be at Officeworks?
No.
I love that. No, and not with a toddler, definitely. No. Screaming. I don't want to be doing that. So I think, and I love how you said, you kind of got addicted to it because you were like, I can keep growing this studio and doing what I love and build a beautiful team around me.
Yeah. And also, lots of, I know we've talked before, but lots of studio owners do work from home with young children, and they might be putting their children into care 1 day a week so they can work on their business. Well, what about do that 1 day a week? And then 1 day a week, how about this? Have a day off with your toddler and get somebody else to answer your phones. Why not? I'm often sitting in the sandpit at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, not today, it's 2 degrees, but, while my business keeps running, and it should be like that. If that's what you want, to spend time with your children, to volunteer or whatever it is, then make that happen. Yeah.
I think that's great advice. Now, back to the teachers. I just wanted to dig a bit there because I think that's going to be really valuable for our studio owners that are listening. I love how you touched on, you know, those three areas that you recruit for, you know, body, mind, and heart.
Yeah.
With body, with that kind of section, how do you interview for that? I mean, what's your process for getting teachers that you know teach safe technique and aren't kids to do things that are beyond their capabilities just because the child saw something on So You Think You Can Dance, and then the kid goes, hey, can we do that? You know, we're going to love you if you help us do that trick, and then that's when it can kind of unravel.
Yeah. Well, look, certainly mostly what I've been doing over the last 5 years is growing my own teachers. So I've got a really strong program in place where I find perhaps younger teachers who are really interested in having a career in dance and have told me that. And so we put them through formal training and informal training. And so not only are they fitting our culture, but they're fitting our expectation of what bodies can do. So there's nothing's happening in my studios, even I'm only there 2 nights a week and on Saturday. Nothing is happening in my studios that shouldn't be in terms of body. So I invest a lot of time and money into training our team, and we talk a lot. You know, we work with a physiotherapist, and I'm Pilates trained, but because we're investing in, you know, ongoing professional development, these are conversations that we're having. And I think that's what needs to happen with dance owners and teachers. They need to get into the classroom and see what's happening and say, you know, no or yes, and then talk about it, and about why they should or should be things. And just because, you know, things were done like that, that's probably best to continue. Oh, well, my dance teacher did that. You're probably like me, you know, and sat in frogs doing bouncing legs and all of that kind of stuff. So, you know, you've got to be talking. Rarely now I'm known. But get teachers in for a workshop. Get them to run a workshop and watch what they're doing and watch their style, but ask questions, you know.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, you said you're in the studio 2 nights a week and a Saturday.
Yeah.
Are you also then popping in sporadically on other nights to just, you know, keep on track of what's going on in those other classes?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, my teaching nights, are 2 nights and a full day. I very rarely pop in unannounced, but I do. I try not to because I think it's
surprise.
Yeah, their faces are. I'm just saying hi. But yeah, we do have a schedule where I and my manager, my principal, will go and watch and observe each other's classes. We also have a schedule where the teachers watch each other's classes, and that's both for, you know, checking in, but also for training purposes as well, because we can learn so much from each other, and that's part of our culture, that we have skills sharing sessions. It's very hard to say. Skills sharing sessions.
Lots of S's there.
We just call it, because we can share. You know, my younger teachers can sometimes bring new ideas to my more experienced teachers, and vice versa. So we get in and watch each other as much as we can.
That's great. I mean, have you got like a ballet teacher watching a jazz teacher watching?
Absolutely.
Really kind of mix it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, you know, technique, the actual genre that you're teaching, in some ways is such a small part of a good dance class. You know, there's how you communicate to a student, and teaching strategies, and imagery, behaviour management, particularly. You know, I've got a big school of under 16-year-olds. Behaviour management is 80% of the class, you know, positive, managing a class. So, I'll go and watch tap class and jazz, which I will never teach, but I will still get a lot from.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. I think that's a great tip. And people are probably thinking, are you paying your teachers for watching those other classes?
Yes, I am.
I
I
like
pay
that.
absolutely everything, Clint. Training, everything, because that is the success of my business right there. And I don't volunteer, and I don't expect my team to volunteer for my success. I just have a bit of an ethical dilemma with that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. I mean, always what comes up with the studio owners I work with is, how much are you paying for rehearsals and photo?
Yeah.
And are you paying for this? And I'm like, you pay.
Yeah. Pay.
You pay.
Yeah.
They're invested then in you as well, and they feel appreciated.
And respected. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Yeah.
love that. Jane, so many studio owners are saying, Clint, I live in a rural area where there's like no teachers, or, I live in an area with lots of dance studios.
Yes.
There's a lot of teachers, but they're not coming to me. I mean, how do you seek out the right types of teachers for you? What are a couple of the strategies that you use to kind of reach out to different organizations, or do you advertise online? What are some of your tips there?
Well, I mean, I'm in Adelaide, so it's not a regional city, but it kind of is. It's from speaking with, talking in Australia, speaking with teachers in the eastern states, it's a very different climate. In Adelaide, there's not as many full-time dance courses, and I know that's a big issue in the eastern states, and there's kind of this competition for getting different teachers. I'm lucky in that because now we've got a really good reputation. We actually are almost pushing teachers away. We get resumes all of the time, so I very rarely have to look externally now. I do. I put adverts online because I like to cast the net wide, but most of the time we're getting a couple of resumes a week, with people wanting to teach with us and work with us. So sorry, that didn't really answer your question particularly, but yeah, the main thing I think is about making connections. It goes back to communication and making connections and building your network so that you're not an unknown. And I've been thinking a lot about this. We kind of go off into our studios, and it's getting better thanks to people like you who are creating communities. It used to kind of be every dance studio owner for themselves. Well, get out and talk to each other and talk to dance teachers and go to events and network. And I think, when you've got a job that comes up, you should have a list of 5 people that you could call and say, hey, you might be interested in this, or you might know somebody that's interested in this.
That's great. That's good. Because, I'm a big fan of people building relationships and having an abundance mentality, and not thinking that you can't talk to anyone else in your area because they're going to take your students, or it's the business landscape as a whole has shifted.
It is.
And I think that studio owners, and I talk about this to our community that we've got, is that you've got to come together, essentially.
Yes.
It's hard enough as it is.
It's hard enough.
Make it harder.
Yeah, don't do it by yourself. And you're right, when you say abundance and there's enough, there are enough. And it's not, I know it's a competition in some ways because we're all trying to do the best we can, but we can all make it. There's no winner or loser. We can all make it. And it's much more fun to do it with friends and colleagues and people who know how your life is, because, I've got lots of friends that aren't dance studio owners that think I'm a nutcase because they don't get it. And I mean, I am a nutcase and I don't care that they don't get it. But, for a while there I did. And I started my school before Facebook. And I was really lonely because I just thought I was the only person in the world with these issues. So I think networking and community, that's a great way to find good people for your team. Yeah.
I think that's a great tip. Now, with having 16 staff, although you've gone through a good interview process and, you're popping into the classes, you must have to have some difficult conversations sometimes.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, and they are hard. And what I've seen working with the studios that I work with is some people find it really difficult, and they don't say anything. So it might be the teacher is doing something that they're not a
Yeah.
fan of, but they keep just watching it, and then the story gets bigger and bigger.
Of course it does. Yeah.
And so how do you kind of deal with conflict?
Yeah.
Well, not even conflict, just you noticing that
Yeah.
someone's doing something that you don't like, or
Yeah.
you'd like them to change it. How do you approach that?
Look, I think, we're dealing with people, and we just need to go in and say it how it is. I don't like it. I don't like confrontation. I avoid it if I can, but I realise that it just gets worse. If you avoid it, then all of this weird stuff happens. You walk past and you think, oh, that's not right. And then next week you walk past and they're still doing it. Why haven't they changed it? Because they don't know, because you haven't spoken to them. I am a mother, as you know, and so I manage like a mother. So if I see my children doing something that's not right, or they're going to hurt themselves, then I say, hey, what are you doing there? Get the chair off the table and get down.
Yeah.
It's much the same with your teachers. People want to do the right thing, but they need to know what the right thing is. And if you don't tell them, and then you just start feeling negative towards them and resentful towards them, and they're just they're not doing the right thing, that's not fair on the teacher. It's not fair at all. So you have to just go in and say, hey, listen, I noticed when I was watching your class for 5 minutes that you're using ballistic stretching. I really need you to not do that, and this is why, and just so that people have the opportunity to improve. They need feedback. We all need feedback.
Yeah.
And perhaps throw in something they're doing well as well,
Like
so,
a feedback sandwich. Hey, I really loved in class, hey,
lovely, and you look very nice.
yeah. I love the feedback sandwich. I think it's important. But I think the good point there and the big takeaway there is have the conversation. It doesn't get easier.
No.
But you've got to have the conversation. Otherwise, lots of things can happen that are detrimental to you and the business.
Yeah, and have the conversation, but also get in before that. So set really clear expectations, and the clearer you are, the less of those conversations you're going to have.
Yeah.
So flip it on its head. There's always going to be those conversations. I've got, processes and procedures for everything. I still have times where I need to kind of pull in my team and say, hey, just a reminder, this is not how you do it. But the clearer you are up front, the less of those awkward conversations.
Sure. Yeah. And how do you, if you've probably got 100 teacher handbooks, but have you got like a teacher handbook, and do you do orientation, and how do you kind of integrate a new teacher into the studio?
Yeah, we have a lot of training. I have really high expectations. I think a learning culture is really important, because I was watching the Australian Ballet do class last week or the week before, and these are the best classical dancers in the nation at the moment, and they're practicing every day to get better, and they're still falling out of their turns. So teaching is much the same, and you have to invest in it. Now, not every day. We're not going to do an hour and a half training every day, but have a handbook so everything's laid out in black and white, and then follow it up regularly. We have 3 days of training at the beginning of every season. So in January we have a full 3 days, and we call that our induction to the year. And our new teachers come up through that and look a bit shell-shocked for 2 days, and completely exhausted for 1 day. And then we train every term as well, so another 2 days generally for every term. So there's no grey area in my business at all. And I know that costs time, and I know it costs money, and I know dance studio owners don't have time, and they might think they don't have money, but it has to be factored in. If you want good teachers, you've got to invest in people. Yeah.
I think it really comes down to what are the priorities in your business. And I think sometimes studio owners flip them around, or have them a bit out of order. And I know we've all got our own priorities, but if we want to build a studio that makes a bigger impact on the community and brings us income, because as the business owner, you're allowed to make money.
Yes.
I think it's important really investing in your staff, which it sounds like you are continually doing, and it pays off. You know,
it does pay off. Yeah.
It's not a cost, it's an investment.
Yeah, and I was speaking to someone last week about this, and they said, but what about if you do all of that and your team member leaves? What then? Well, the thing is, what then is that you've given them a real gift. You've given them a gift of your knowledge and some great training, and hope that they do the right thing with it. I've worked for lots of organisations, and I've taken little golden nuggets from all of them.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think that they're like, oh, look at Jane, you know, oh, she's such a success with all our knowledge. I hope that they would be pleased that I've used some of their training and information to better myself and to better our world, you know, make a positive impact. Yeah. So I don't think, don't be scared that you might give too much away. There's enough. We've got to keep coming back to that. There's enough.
There's enough of everything. There's enough students. People are not going to stop having babies.
No, they're not. Not when it's this cold.
They still keep popping them out. You're still going to have preschoolers. It's okay.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I love that. Now, Jane, you mentioned you are a mother and you run a studio and you've got 16 teachers and you've got hundreds of students.
Yes.
How do you go about juggling it all? You know, there's a concept of how can I have it all?
Well, you can have it all. You can. Maybe not all at the same time.
Yes.
That was Ida Buttrose that said that, and what a great example of working mum. You can have it all, but not at the same time, and you can have it all, but you don't have to do it all. So they're my main kind of. It goes back to delegating again, doesn't it? And giving it away. And we have this idea about balance. We're always talking about work-life balance. You laugh. I do too. But I think you've got a pretty good balance, and I do as well, in that some days, you know, I will pull some really long hours because that's what my business is demanding of me, and then other days I won't. And my children understand that as well, so they know during November, in fact, my oldest, who's now 9, she starts to say things like, after the performance, can we? So, you know, she's in, she knows what it's like. She knows that that's a season. And I think we have seasons of our life. So sometimes we can really go for it, and other times we need to pull back, and that's okay. It's incredibly frustrating sometimes because I'm really, I'm not a workaholic, but I'm so driven by passion that work is a joy. Like I get so excited when I'm working that I just want to do it, but my children bring me that joy too. So it's about, you know, sometimes really putting the accelerator down and going for it, and other times pulling back. And the main thing, and my mum told me this, she was also a working mum, is that your children are little for a really short amount of time. You know, my oldest is 9, and I just feel like she was born yesterday. And my baby, he's 3. So I've only got him, you know, with me for a couple of more years before he goes off to school too.
Yeah.
And, you know, hopefully your studio will be around for a long time. I hope my studio is the legacy that I leave, and I plan to work in it as long as I'm still having fun. So I'm hoping that's, you know, I'm 35, what should we say, another 50 years? Yeah. And in 2 years, my baby is 5. So look at the big picture and pace yourself. Maybe also avoid comparisons, which is really hard. You know, avoid what Susie at Studio ABC is doing, because maybe Susie has teenagers as children who are more independent and is 10 years further into her journey. It's really hard not to draw comparisons, and I've had people do that to me. Oh, I wish my studio was at your level. Well, maybe 10 years ago, have a look at where I was at.
Yeah, exactly. There's that great quote, don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle.
How perfect.
And it's that concept. We look and go, yeah, but they're, X amount of years in front of them. So it does make a lot of sense.
And also, but also when you're comparing success, we all have different definitions of success. So sure, maybe someone wants to go, yes, I want 1,000 students like you, Jane. I wish, how can I make that happen? But my version of success actually has nothing to do with how many students are in my studio, nothing at all. My version of success is that I can balance motherhood and running a business, that I can provide a workplace that is inspiring and wonderful for people to come to, and that my students are happy and healthy and love coming to the studio. That's my success. Yeah. So, that's where that comparison can be really dangerous and put you down into a negative spiral. Yeah. Avoid comparison and remember there's seasons in life. Push ahead sometimes, pull back others. Yeah.
I love the analogy of seasons, and Rory Vaden talks about seasons in, taking the stairs in his book. Lots of people talk about the analogy because it's so perfect.
Yes, it is perfect, and it keeps coming around. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you've got to put the foot on the accelerator and you're going and you're working late nights, and then other times, take a holiday.
Yeah, how about that?
You're allowed to take a holiday, even when the studio is still working. Take a holiday with your family or on your own.
And or do something that you love, because that fills you up as well. I love to write and I love to read. And 5 years ago, I wasn't doing any of that, and I was just working a job. Like, if you're just always working in the business, you're just doing a job. You might as well go and teach for someone else. Yeah. You've got to, have time to do the things that you love. And then other times realize that those things that you love have to go on the back burner because the business needs you, or it's performance time, or whatever.
Yeah, I agree. Jane, to wrap up, I could talk to you for hours.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
This is fascinating. But to wrap up, what do you think has contributed to the success that you've had in your studio?
By far and wide, it is my focus on the people in the studio. That would be the first answer that comes to mind, because I've really worked on the relationships that I've built with my students. So, 9 years ago, I was a sole trader and I had 30 students, and the studio grew because I was focusing on the students as people, as individuals, and really going the extra mile with their families. And then I got teachers, and I realized I needed to focus on my teachers so that they could focus on the students. And then it goes to the next level, where now I've got a tier of management. I'm a marketing manager and my principal and my finance manager. So now I'm investing in them so they can focus, my principal can focus on my teachers, and the teachers can focus on the students.
Yeah.
So it all comes back to the people, but with a little kind of asterisk in the corner, in that you must also remember that you're a business. So it's no good, it's not utopia. You need to look at, having purpose and bringing it to a profit.
Yeah.
How perfect is that? You've got to make money, so you've got to look at how many students are in your school, and you've got to look at whether they're making you money. Is this viable? And how much am I paying that teacher to teach that class? Because if you're paying children to dance, that's not going to work, is it? They kind of need to be paying you. Yeah.
I love that mix of just, focusing on the people and building this business, and giving back and making a big impact. But you've also got to be aware of where your numbers are at, which is exactly what we teach. And I know you're passionate about that as well. And that's like what's in the, if you're cooking a cake, there you magic ingredients that you've got to be putting in there to, have a beautiful cake. Jane, where can people go to find out more information about you and your studio and what you do?
Great. So they can connect with me through Facebook on Jane Gretsch Dance Centre. We've got a great community for the dance centre. We love to share about what we do. Yeah. We've also got a web page, which is just all janegretschdancecentre.com.au. So both of those sites, and they've got email links to me, and I'd love to chat to anybody as well. You know, like I said, it's about community and sharing our load.
That's right. And the great thing about this, is, where our mission is to create this global community, because we are all facing the same challenges. Your owners are going through the same thing. So let's connect on a global basis.
Yeah, wonderful.
Bring us all together. Look, thank you so much for your
time. My pleasure.
And for sharing all of those golden nuggets. I'm going to be watching it back and taking a lot of notes, as I'm sure a lot of our viewers are taking notes on what you said. So I appreciate you taking the time out today.
Thanks, Clint. It's been great. I've loved it.
Yeah, awesome.